Hello, and welcome back to A Picky Vegan. I'm Erica, and you're watching Daughter Diaries. Tonight's dinner is going to be nachos. We are using the Plant Boss Plant Taco with the mild seasoning. And for a bit of extra taco seasoning, we're using this taco seasoning right here, which there wasn't much anyway. Usually we just use a taco seasoning packet, but we had this from the times when there wasn't any in the store. So it's gone now, finally. Yay! And then we're going to add some salsa, and this is hot salsa because this is the mild seasoning. We want it to be a little spicy. And because the salsa is not enough for our meat, I've also added chopped up jalapenos. So it should have a good amount of kick to it. And we're just using the scoop chips from, let me get the bag. I can't put this in frame. Party size from this brand. Scoops. There we go. And this is pretty quick if you want to see us actually make, or us, me, if you want to see me actually make the taco meat, there's a separate video for that, which will be linked in the description below or in the comments. Don't forget to put that in there, Mom, somewhere. But you're actually just going to watch me put the rest of the nachos in the chips. And then technically for cheese, we are using the Follow Your Heart cheddar. It is vegan cheese. It's dairy-free, soy-free, lactose-free. It is finely shredded. This melts pretty well. Sometimes it can be a little hit or miss. Sometimes it'll do better in the microwave versus the oven. We're not really sure why that is, but it does melt, and it tastes pretty good. We've tried a few different cheddar cheeses, and that's the best one so far. Okay. This is a pretty easy dinner, I would say. You cook the meat, which doesn't take that much time. The instructions are on the back of this, and again, you can watch the full process on ovens preheated. The full process in the other video, but it's just the meat crumbles soaking in the water, 2 cups of water for about 3 minutes. Then you cook it on stovetop in a pan for about 15 to 20 minutes until, or at least until the water evaporates. Add your own seasonings and whatnot. And then just put your chips on the tray. There's aluminum foil on this so the chips and cheese and anything else doesn't stick to the pan. And then it just takes about 3 minutes in the oven. Any longer and the chips will start to burn. There we go. And this is just a metal scooper with a hole in the bottom, which is covered right now. You could also use a silicone spoon. It's currently in use because someone else made dinner. But it looks like this. This is what I'm talking about. It's a silicone spoon, scooper looking thing. This also works pretty well. But since it's currently in use, for the other family members' dinner, we're using this one instead. And it works. It's just you have to constantly tap it on the side of the bowl. And I apologize if that's loud, but it sticks, the meat sticks pretty good to the inside of this. I'm sure you're looking at some of these nachos and thinking, isn't that a lot of jalapenos? You know, there's quite a few pieces everywhere. And maybe, it may be, I'm not sure. Usually when I add usually I add hot chilies, or green hot chilies. It's used for tacos, so I never had to worry about size. And those are pre-chopped. I chopped this up by hand. I was like, yeah, that should be small enough. And you put it in the chips, and it's like, it might be a bit much. We'll see. It still tastes good. I just wouldn't be surprised if some have an equal ratio of jalapenos to me, and others have either no jalapenos or some have more jalapenos. And then I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but you're going to preheat your oven to about 350. And then you'll notice there's some meat that has missed the chip entirely. You can either leave it and just, when you're taking your nachos, take the meat as well. I know when we used to make nachos for everyone, and that means when we weren't vegan, my dad would usually just take the cheese that also missed some of the chips and just kind of scrape it off and put it on top of his nachos. So you could do that, or you can also just take it now and eat it. I mean, you're going through the effort of making nachos, you deserve some snacks. And there's plenty of meat to fill all these, and you will have some left over. For Plant Boss, I can almost use the entire thing for one full tray. But if you're using something like the Beyond the Meat, that meat pack, I'm not sure what it's actually called. They're not crumbles, but it's a full solid meat brick, essentially. That has a lot of leftover. Either way, whichever one you use, or if you use something different, it should be enough to get you through. I mean, this is a pretty big pan. It's about... It's about 63 nachos, give or take. There's, some missing in the corners. So maybe closer to 65 nachos or so. And usually this would serve about 4 people, and it would be either gone or there would be 2 rows left at a minimum. Yeah, we've had these pans forever, so I'm really not sure what the measurements are. So since everything is filled, I'm now just going to look over all the nachos and see if any need a bit of a top up. I can see this one, this is a pretty big chip, it could use a little bit more. And that just, I think my hand was blocking so you can see, but as I was tapping, it just fell out completely. Good thing there's more. There we go. This is also where I would probably recommend you push your chips really close together, so if anything does miss, there's a chance with it on a chip. It's not guaranteed at all, but, you know, try a little bit. You can try to pick all the meat from the little crevices and stuff, but it's not too much of a loss. You can either pick it up later once the tray's a little more empty, or it's just a few lost pieces. It'll be fine. And then you didn't see how much meat I started with, but this is what is left. That's enough for one sandwich. And it's really good if you take this meat and put it in a hamburger bun or a hot dog bun. It's really good just like this. Or even one taco. It's not enough for taco salad, but it's enough. Or even just making nachos for yourself, single serving. Alright, so now that's done, I'm going to make sure we don't have an already opened cheese. And we did. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the tray and shake the nachos kind of closer together. Not too much because they will kind of slide underneath each other. But just to help with the cheesing process. I'm going to move this. And there's not much cheese in this one, so you're just gonna take your hand and sprinkle it on top. It doesn't really matter where you start, as long as you just cover a lot. And I might just start pouring it out in my hand. There we go. This is better. And there will be a lot of cheese that does not make it to the chip. Don't worry about that. The meat is one thing, it's in a bigger clump. You have a better chance of actually saving it, if you will. Not the cheese. It's not that worth it. And now the finely shredded cheese from Follow Your Heart is pretty thin and also short. But usually if you have either real cheese or if you have a different brand of cheese that has maybe longer strands, sometimes it will also just hang over and it will still touch the tray regardless. So it's really up to you how much you want to worry about things spilling, but it's really not that big of a deal. Something else I noticed about the Follow Your Heart cheese is it really sticks or just coats your hand. I'm sure real cheese does too, but it's not like this. I mean, look at that. It's just literally on my hands. And if it wasn't evident, you want to make sure you wash your hands before you put cheese over everything. I already did, so it's fine. I just didn't do that on camera, but I promise I did. And I need scissors. This first bag done. And before you touch anything that is no longer the cheese process, you will want to wash your hands first, because again, it's everywhere. And there's nothing you can do to help that. I mean, technically you can wear gloves. I've never worn gloves for adding cheese. When we switched to being vegan, I didn't see a need to. I could see maybe starting to wear gloves for this process. Just because it's kind of annoying. It's not the greatest feeling in the world, but it's worth it. So when I get to the chips in the end, I slow down and actually try to be really accurate with the cheesing, especially the ones on the end, because if I miss it, it just goes to the tray. But if you do this pile over here, if you miss, it mainly goes into other chips. And yeah, sometimes it does go to the tray, but you can be a little more loose with it. But any of the edges or any gaps, I try to just slow down and be really accurate. And And then if you're wondering how much cheese do you add, you're going to try to lightly cheese it, especially if you're not the biggest fan on cheese or globs of cheese. But when it melts really thinly, and then you find it's not enough. So for real cheese, you can put too much, I find, but for vegan cheese, at least for this specific brand, you can't really add too much. This one here, for example, it's kind of light, and I know it will melt pretty much the way I see it right now. So you just want to make sure it's coated a decent amount. At least cover the meat about 70% if you can. And this is a 7-ounce bag of cheese, and we, for one tray of nachos, use almost half. Now the bag isn't filled all the way to the top, but for the amount that was in here, we use almost half for one tray. And I don't think they sell them in bigger bags, which is kind of nice because we don't go through the cheese that much, technically. We do on a singular basis, but if we're not making nachos, we don't use it that much. So remember I said we use about half the bag. So it's been a while since I've made nachos. Apparently we do not use half the bag. We use 80% or 2/3 of the bag. I should have shown you what it looked like before I started using it, but I will show you once I'm done. And just like the meat, you're going to go over and see which nachos need a little more cheese. Alright, and that was that. So now it is completely done. That's what it's going to look like. Put it in for 3 minutes and take it out as soon as you can, because this is not the thing you think, oh, you know, it's beeping for a couple of minutes, I'll go there in a second. No, you take them out. You stand here, wait for 3 minutes, and take them out when they're done, because the chips will start to burn a little bit. And we'll either pop up a picture on screen of the finished product, or there'll be another clip. But either way, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know how you make nachos in the comments below. Do you do the single chip kind of variant, or do you do the whole place chips everywhere and just kind of layer it and then just pick it apart? I've seen 2 different ways to make nachos, so let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.